Hi guys, and especially for those of you out there who are Whovians, and have I got news for you? Well, this is the pilot episode of my new review series that I'm going to be doing. Um, Exaggerated Who Reviews, or Exaggerated Reviews Doctor Who. How it's going to work is I'm going to come on screen with every time I'm going to review an episode of Doctor Who, and I'm going to start by reviewing it as if it's a serious review. Then at some point during the description of the episode in question, I'm going to then exaggerate a part of the story for fun. So, for example, if I'm talking about, say, an unearthly child, and I'm describing about Susan and Barbara's intrigue with Susan, and how different she is from the rest of their pupils. And then I suddenly go off on the tangent of, and then, suddenly out of nowhere, right, Susan's grandfather walks in, up and behind Ian and Barbara, forces sacks over their heads, and carries them out of the building. That sort of thing. So there's an example of how I might exaggerate it. So, and then I'll carry on with the rest of the review normally, and then give my thoughts of the story in question. So that is how the new review series of Doctor Who is going to work. So without further ado, let's get on with the show now, with the pilot episode of Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews. So let's exaggerate! And the first story we're going to exaggerate is the one I've just given you examples about, An Unearthly Child. So, this was the very first Doctor Who story to ever air on BBC One back in 1963. The very first episode of which is the story Namer. So, Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright are two school teachers who were intrigued about the behaviour of one of their pupils, Susan Foreman, who seems to be very different from the rest of her classmates. She started questioning what they're teaching and correcting them where she thinks they've gone wrong. When confronted about this and about where she lives, she says she lives with her grandfather at 76 Totters Lane. Now, while she's talking to them about this mysterious man enters the building with a sack, and then, right, he forces them into the sack, ties the sack shut, and carries them off to this place. No. And when they get to the place, he then releases them from the sack with Susan in tow, who has followed him home. Okay, now, once they get back to the junkyard, as it really is, they've just, in reality, they've just, you know, followed Susan back to 76 Totters Lane, which turns out to be a junkyard, and her mysterious grandfather, her grandfather's just this mysterious old man inside a police box. Now, what I exaggerated with the abduction scene is about to come into play in reality, but without the sacks and him just walking into the school building involved, because how the episode ends is them following Susan into the TARDIS and basically not believing her when she tells them it's a time machine. So to prove that it is a time machine, the Doctor abducts them. Dun dun dun! And the episode ends with them in the Stone Age. So... So, that's an Unearthly Child for you guys. And it's a brilliant way to actually start off what was at that time a new series. And my rating of it is 6 curious school teachers out of 10. And I hope you enjoyed the pilot episode of Exaggerated Doctor Who. This new review show where, again, I come on to review a Doctor Who story, but exaggerate a part of the story before telling you how that part really goes. So... and stay tuned for the next episode, if this does well. So I shan't tell you what I'm going to be reviewing next on the show. You'll have to wait and see. But until then, thanks for watching. And if you do go back in time, be careful. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and have us a magical time. Calling all Whovians, calling all Whovians. It's time to join me, your host, James, once again, as I exaggerate another classic Doctor Who story for Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews. And which one am I going to be doing that with today? Well, in the previous episode, which was also the pilot of the series, I exaggerated an Unearthly Child. So I thought we jump ahead to the second story of the classic era, between 1963 and 64, the Daleks. Now, here we go. The Daleks were actually created by Terry Nation, and the story picks up right where the last story left off, with the TARDIS landing on a planet which appears to be a desolate jungle wasteland, with the atmosphere reading normal. So the TARDIS team, that's the Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara, venture out to explore. And they meet a race of people named the Thals, who they quickly become friends with, and ask them to lead them into a city that they've discovered. But they are warned that they don't want to go there because of the race of aliens that actually operate in that city, the Daleks, are the enemies of the Thals. Now, needless to say, that the TARDIS team actually do convince the Thals to take them into the city, where they end up getting invited to dinner. How friendly these Daleks are, right? They get invited to dinner, a lovely steak and chip meal, and they get to use these automated pepper pots to sprinkle the pepper onto their chips. Oh, yeah, okay, so they end up having a nice dinner with the Daleks, who don't do anything horrible to them whatsoever. And they're all buddy buds. No. Actually, yeah, that's an exaggeration. What really happens is they get held captive by the Daleks, who hold them prisoner and intend on exterminating them. So, and this all happens over the course of 7 episodes. The first lengthy story in the show's run. So, yeah, what do I think of the Daleks? For a first go around with these iconic Doctor Who villains, I thought it was a solid story. I wish I could have gone to dinner with them though. Yeah, no, that doesn't really happen, I've just told you that, so So guys, that's it for this review. And please, don't take it as an offence when I go off into the exaggeration of the story, because that's part of the fun of the show. It's meant to be that way. If you missed the first episode where I explained to you at the beginning how it was going to work, then it's your own fault, and you've just exaggerated an exaggeration of a Doctor Who story. So so if you have fond memories of this story from when you grew up with it, if you're old enough to have seen it as it originally broadcast, let the Daleks know in the comments below. You will not be exterminated. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. There will be another one of these soon. But until then, thanks for watching. And have a magical time. Hello fellow Whovians, and welcome back to Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews, the show where I pick a Doctor Who story and tell you its synopsis, but exaggerate some of it into something it isn't, before finishing up telling you the synopsis. So guys, we're now up to story number 3 in the classic era of Doctor Who, starring William Hartnell. This is from 1964. It's The Edge of Destruction, otherwise known as Inside the Spaceship, because it's set entirely in the TARDIS with no one but the main crew, as they are knocked unconscious by a mysterious force, and when they regain consciousness they can't remember anything of what's happened. They become amnesiacs from suffering blows to the head, and they spend most of the episode in the emergency room trying to regain their memories, because they're rushed to the hospital when someone finds them in an ambulance. And then they waste all that time in a hospital trying to regain their memories before getting them back. Nah, guys, really? If you couldn't tell that was the exaggeration, then I don't know what you thought it was. Because in reality, they just spend the rest of the episode trying to piece together pieces of their memory until they get their memories back. It's only a 2-episode story, this one. And as such, it's still a good story. But not an exciting one, because it's only in one location and with only our main cast. So there you go. You can watch it if you want, but I don't know how much excitement you expect to get out of it. Now guys, there will be another episode coming your way very soon, but there's a problem here. How am I going to do this for Marco Polo when it's a missing story? Well, Telesnap Reconstructions. I have a copy. I've watched it, but not recently, but I can't remember what the story's about. So Marco Polo, Telesnap Reconstructions next time. Until then, thanks for watching. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. And have us a magical time. Hello fellow Whovians, and welcome back to Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews for our 4th episode. Now, how am I going to review this next Doctor Who story with an exaggerated punchline? Or an exaggerated segment? Because this is a missing story I'm about to review. Well, I've actually experienced it in 2 ways. Telesnap reconstructions on an unofficial DVD release, obviously, and the audio version. So it's fair to say that for this review of Marco Polo, I'm going to go with the audio version. So, the TARDIS lands on the roof of the world in 13th century Italy, where the TARDIS team, that would be William Hartnell's Doctor, Carol Ann Ford as Susan, Ian played by yeah. So Ian then and Barbara, and they meet up with Marco Polo and join him on this adventure. You know, the Venetian explorer. Now, the funny thing about them meeting up with this guy is that he's on his way to a polo match and he invites them to join in. And they have such great fun playing polo. And you might be wondering, how were they playing polo in the 13th century? Well, they weren't in reality, that was just the exaggeration. In reality, they just join him on his exploration adventure, run into some trouble along the way, and then get out of it as they normally do, quite cleverly. It's a 7-episode story, all of which, as I said at the beginning, have been lost to time. So yes, if you want to experience it for yourself, you either have to get the audio version or track down Telesnap reconstructions on a homemade DVD. Somehow. Now guys, before I sign off, I'm gonna say now, the next episode will be for... well, obviously, if we're going through the first Doctor's era first, then logically the next story I'm going to do this type of review for is the Keys of Marinus. And if you're wondering why I'm going off on a nonsensical tangent while doing these reviews, this is a good story, by the way, from what I've experienced. You know, the audio version, I've experienced both. I've just chosen the audio version. So... well, if you actually did not pay any attention to the How It Works segment of the pilot episode, then that's on your heads, because I do explain this is how it was going to work. Now guys, it's time to go. And so for the Keys of Marinus next time, And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a magical time. Hello fellow Whovians, and welcome back to Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews, the show where I pick a Doctor Who story and exaggerate part of its synopsis. So we now go on to story number 5 of the classic era, the Keys of Marinus. When the TARDIS lands on the planet of Marinus, the crew are greeted and introduced to the president of the planet, who wants to send them on a mission to rescue, these artifacts on the planet called the Keys. Now, needless to say, the TARDIS crew do go off on this mission to find the Keys of Marinus, but when they actually do find them, they're shocked to learn, right? And yeah, they're shocked to learn that all these keys really do is open doors. So they try a key in the lock of a door and they let themselves into a storage unit. And what do they find in there but a stash of chocolate bars? Nah, not really. Really, the Keys of Marinus, in reality, are these artifacts that help maintain the balance of Marinus. And when they return the keys to the leader of Marinus, they are rewarded with thanks, and there you go. It's been a long time since I've actually seen this story. I should have rewatched to get a better synopsis. And for those who find my exaggeration offensive, it's not meant to offend, okay? It's just a bit of fun that I added in to spice up these reviews. I refer you to the how it's going to work section of the pilot episode, in case you weren't paying attention. So, yeah. So, what do I think of the Keys of Marinus as a Doctor Who story? Okay, it's a good story. Not one of my favourites by a long shot. So, I guess I'm going to have to give it 5 keys out of 5. That means next time, guys, we go back to 16th century Mexico for the Aztecs. Until then, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have us a magical time. Hey fellow Whovians, and welcome to another episode of Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews, the show where I pick a Doctor Who story and tell you a synopsis and exaggerate part of that synopsis before giving you the real part. So we've done this now for the first 5 classic stories of the show, starring William Hartnell. And we're doing it with story number 6 of the classic era now, the Aztecs. Now, for those who don't know, the Aztecs, in this story, the TARDIS lands in 16th century Mexico, and the crew get caught up in some of their customs. And as I'm sure you'll know, the Aztec customs by now is someone does a little bit of hocus pocus in front of muggles and they end up in Aztec prison. No, they don't. They just get caught up in Aztec customs, and this actually involves Barbara being mistaken for one of their gods, Sutek. Wow. Now, of course, the exaggeration's already passed. That was what the whole going to Aztec prison for using magic thing was about. So now this is, what is it, a 4-part story. Hold on a second. I have the story over here somewhere. I think it's either a 4-part story or a 6-part story. I can't remember exactly how many episodes it was. It's one I was looking for the DVD, so I could see the time span it ran from and to. Anyway, so for now we'll just say it's either a 4-part or a 6-part story, and it's a fun adventure, and from 1964, obviously, and we'll just leave it at that. What do you think of Doctor Who the Aztecs? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. The next story I'll be doing this to would be number 7, the Sensorites. Until then, thanks for watching and have us a magical time. Hi fellow Whovians, and welcome back to Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews, the show where I pick a Doctor Who story, give you a synopsis, and then obviously exaggerate a bit of it for comedic purposes only. Now recently I've been going through season 1 of Classic Who, so we're going to continue that trend with the penultimate story of that series and the 7th in the series overall, The Sensorites, which aired in 1964. It's a 6-part story. And it goes like this. The TARDIS lands in a distant world in the 28th century called the Sensphere. And while there, they come into contact with an alien race that somehow manages to knock them all unconscious the moment they meet, and then carry them all off to an underground bunker where they keep them imprisoned. And then, right, they make it so the crew that are now knocked senseless never wakes up. No. In reality, what happens is they do meet the Sensorites, but their world is a matter of life and death. And the Sensorites actually think, that's the name of the alien race that lives on this planet, they think the TARDIS crew are an invading force. So yes, they do imprison them, and they almost put them to death. But as usual, the TARDIS team does manage to escape and actually help the Sensorites. Now, so I might have actually exaggerated more than I intended. Yes, I forgot to mention there was a human crew in the episode, in the story. And the companions must deduce whether the Sensorites' intentions are friendly, hostile, or frightened. So now I've added that bit of information in from the DVD cover. So, what's my opinion of the Sensorites? What, the alien race or the actual story? Of course the actual story. The aliens don't really exist. So, I thought upon initial watch that it was an okay story. Not one of the best in the series. Certainly in my opinion, not one of the worst. You may have different opinions. But now, guys, the next story I'll be reviewing will be The Reign of Terror, and that's the Season 1 finale of Classic Who. So look out for that one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a magical time. Hello fellow Whovians, and welcome back to Exaggerated Doctor Who Reviews. It's now time to dive into the 8th of the classic stories and the last of season 1 of those stories, The Reign of Terror. So, let's take the TARDIS and go back in time to the French Revolution, where the TARDIS has landed in the year 1789. And the TARDIS crew get caught up in this adventure where they meet Napoleon, and he allows them free reign to do as they want without punishment, as long as they help him to execute the then King and Queen of France. So they agree to this. That'd be Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, by the way. So they agree to this and become very good friends with Napoleon. Nah, not really. The French Revolution, this was just the beginning, if I've actually given you the right year. In reality, in case you couldn't tell, that was the exaggeration. Now, in reality, they do land in France in the 18th century during the French Revolution, where they get caught up in a conspiracy. And actually, Barbara and Susan, if I remember rightly, are the ones being accused and being put to death. So the Doctor and Ian, again if I remember rightly, must rescue them. Correct me if I've got any of that flipped round in the comments below. Because I do apologise if I've got it wrong. Any of it. Anyway, what you get here is 5 episodes set during this historic period. It's a very important historic period because it did lead to the executions of King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette of France. In the 1790s. So, what do I think of this story? Well, I know I should have rewatched before doing this exaggerated review, because I now think I'm going to be the next with my head on the chopping block. The guillotine. In all seriousness though, it is a good story. Not one of the best. Certainly not one of the worst. The next story up for review. I'm going to continue on with the classic stories. The next story up for review is Planet of the Giants, the first story of season 2. Until then, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. And have us a magical time.